6 Hidden Qualities of Women with Rare Spiritual Intelligence, Edgar Cayce reveals. You've seen her, maybe not with your eyes at first, but you've felt her. She walks into a room and something shifts, not because she's loud, not because she demands to be seen, but because there's a presence around her, something ancient, something awake, something that feels both unreachable and intimately familiar. You can't quite name it, but you know it when you're near it. It's not her beauty, though she may be beautiful. It's not her accomplishments, though she may have many. It's something deeper, something that operates beneath language, beyond performance, in a realm most of us have forgotten how to perceive. What if I told you that Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet who gave thousands of readings for women seeking spiritual guidance between 1901 and 1945, identified 6 specific qualities that mark a woman as carrying what he called rare spiritual intelligence, not book knowledge, not psychic ability, not New Age femininity tropes or cultural performance, but soul-level mastery, earned across lifetimes, woven into the very architecture of her consciousness. This isn't about gender superiority. This isn't about claiming that women are more spiritual than men, or that feminine energy is somehow holier than masculine energy. This is about recognizing a specific frequency of consciousness that manifests uniquely through the feminine form, a way of knowing that our culture has forgotten how to see, let alone value. And here's what makes these 6 qualities so fascinating. They're hidden. They don't announce themselves. They don't come with credentials or certificates. They operate in silence, in subtlety, in the realm of energetic transmission that most people never learn to read. But once you understand what you're looking for, you'll see these women everywhere. You'll recognize them in your grandmother's quiet strength, in your daughter's unusual depth, in the friend who always seems to know what you need before you say it. And if you carry even one of these qualities yourself, you'll finally understand why you've always felt different, why shallow relationships exhaust you, why you see things others don't, why your sensitivity has been called weakness when you've always known it was something else entirely, something sacred. If you know a woman who carries these qualities, this video will teach you how to truly see her, how to honor her without diminishing her, how to love her without trying to make her smaller, safer, more conventional. But first, you need to understand what Edgar Cayce actually meant by spiritual intelligence, because it's nothing like what you've been taught. Edgar Cayce was called the sleeping prophet for a reason. In a self-induced trance state, lying on a simple couch in his office in Virginia Beach, he would access what he called the Akashic Records, the cosmic library of all souls, all lifetimes, all knowledge across time. And between 1901 and 1945, he gave thousands of readings specifically for women. This was an era when feminine wisdom was culturally silenced, when women's voices were dismissed as emotional, unstable, untrustworthy, when the only acceptable role for a woman's spirituality was obedient devotion within patriarchal religious structures. But Cayce saw something different. He saw that women weren't spiritually equal to men in the way our culture wanted to frame equality. They were different, not inferior, not superior, different in their soul architecture, different in frequency, different in mastery. And according to his readings, certain women incarnate with what he called temple memory. These are souls who have lived lifetimes as priestesses, healers, oracles, and wisdom keepers. Women who served in the temples of Atlantis, ancient Egypt, Greece, Tibet, cultures that honored feminine spiritual power as sacred technology. Their souls remember, not consciously perhaps, not in a way they can articulate or prove, but the memory lives in their bodies, in their energy fields, in the way they move through the world. And Cayce identified 6 specific qualities that mark these women as old souls, with specialized spiritual intelligence. 6 ways of perceiving, processing, and transmitting truth that bypass intellectual analysis entirely. These qualities aren't learned in this lifetime. They're remembered, activated, recognized. And here's the tragedy. Modern society rewards masculine intelligence, linear thinking, competitive achievement, acquisitive knowledge, and pathologizes feminine intelligence as weakness, emotionality, or instability. We've built an entire civilization that can't measure, monetize, or control the very qualities that could heal us. But Cayce saw the future. He saw that as humanity evolves, these 6 qualities would be recognized not as soft skills, but as advanced consciousness, the very capacities needed to heal collective trauma and birth new paradigms. He saw women like you rising, women who refuse to shrink, women who trust what they know, even when they can't explain how they know it. The first quality is the foundation of all the others, and it's the one most commonly mistaken for weakness. Before we meet the 6 qualities, we need to understand what Cayce meant by spiritual intelligence, because it's fundamentally different from intellectual intelligence. Intellectual intelligence is about things. You accumulate information, you analyze patterns, you construct arguments, you study the world from a distance as subject examining object. You build knowledge like a tower, piece by piece, fact by fact, theory by theory. It's powerful, it's valuable, it's gotten humanity this far, but it's not the same as spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is through things. You don't study love, you become love. You don't analyze compassion, you embody compassion. You don't theorize about transformation, you are the transformation. The mind knows by separation, the soul knows by union. Women with rare spiritual intelligence don't just think about healing, empathy, or presence. They are those frequencies. Their very existence shifts the energy of rooms, relationships, timelines. And here's the paradox that confuses everyone. This intelligence often looks like doing nothing, because its power is in being, not performing. She's not trying to fix you, teach you, or impress you. She's simply holding a frequency so steady, so clear, so unconditionally loving that your own soul recognizes it and begins to align. That's spiritual intelligence, and it's been dismissed, erased, and reframed as emotional labor rather than spiritual mastery, because patriarchal structures can't measure it, capitalism can't monetize it, control systems can't regulate it, so it's been made invisible. But Cayce saw it clearly. He described it in reading after reading. Women who could heal with presence, women who could see past the veil, women who could hold space for transformation without speaking a single word. The 6 qualities we're about to explore aren't traits you develop through effort or discipline. They're soul memories you remember, capacities you've carried through lifetimes, waiting for the moment when you'd finally trust them again. If you have them, you've always had them. You've just been taught not to trust them, taught to second-guess your knowing, taught to apologize for your depth, but not anymore. Each quality builds on the last, creating an architecture of consciousness. Miss one and you can't fully embody the next. So let's begin where all sacred work begins, in silence. The first quality is sacred silence. This is the ability to be fully present without filling space with words, without performing comfort, without anxious soothing. Cayce described it in one of his readings this way: the evolved feminine knows that silence is not absence, it is womb. All creation begins in the dark, wordless void. Think about that for a moment. Silence as womb. Silence as the place where all life begins. Silence not as emptiness, but as potential. Most people are terrified of silence. They fill it with chatter, with advice, with distraction, with noise. Because empty space feels like abandonment, like neglect, like something's wrong. But the woman with spiritual intelligence understands that silence is active. When chaos erupts around her, she doesn't react. She doesn't rescue. She doesn't swoop in with solutions or comfort or explanations. She holds. Her silence isn't cold. It's containing. It's a sacred vessel, a temple space where others can finally hear their own souls. People instinctively confess in her presence. They cry. They calm. They soften. Not because she's doing anything to them, but because she's created energetic sanctuary through her willingness to simply be. This is incredibly rare, especially for women who are conditioned from childhood to caretake, to soothe, to make everyone comfortable, to manage other people's emotions as if that's their spiritual assignment. But it's not. Her spiritual intelligence tells her that silence is an act of trust. Trust in your process, trust in your soul's timing, trust that you already have everything you need. You just need space to remember it. She's the friend who sits with your grief without trying to fix it, who doesn't rush in with everything happens for a reason, or look on the bright side, or at least she just sits. She breathes. She holds. She's the mother who lets her child struggle without swooping in, who watches them figure something out even when it hurts her heart, because she knows that their struggle is their growth. She's the leader who pauses before speaking, who lets the silence stretch and expand until wisdom rises from the depths instead of ego reacting from the surface. Her restraint is her power, but there's a shadow side to this quality, like all spiritual gifts. If it becomes unconscious, sacred silence can turn into emotional withholding, stonewalling, passive-aggressive withdrawal, using silence as a weapon instead of a gift. The key is always intent. Is the silence loving space-holding, or is it self-protective avoidance? One heals, the other harms. The woman with spiritual intelligence knows the difference. She can feel it in her body. She knows when she's holding space from love and when she's retreating from fear, and she's honest enough with herself to choose differently. Sacred silence creates the container, but what she does within that container is where the second quality emerges. The second quality is emotional alchemy. This is the ability to feel others' pain without becoming it, to witness suffering without drowning, to transform dense energy into light. Cayce taught this with beautiful precision. The spiritually intelligent woman is not an empath who absorbs. She is an alchemist who transmutes. Let's pause there, because this distinction is everything. Many sensitive women are empathic sponges. They walk into a room and immediately soak up everyone's emotions. They feel the weight of other people's grief, anger, fear, shame, and then they carry it in their own bodies. They leave every interaction exhausted, depleted, sometimes physically ill, and they've been told this is just what being an empath means, that it's a gift, that they're feeling for others, serving others, helping others. But that's not spiritual intelligence. That's spiritual wounding. The woman with rare spiritual intelligence feels the emotion. She recognizes it. She witnesses it fully, but she doesn't keep it. She moves it through her body, through breath, through tears, through sound, through movement, and she consciously transforms it. She releases it as prayer, as creativity, as grounded presence. Her body is not a storage unit for the world's pain. Her body is a sacred vessel for transformation. She feels everything, but she carries nothing. This requires immense nervous system regulation, spiritual discipline, body awareness, the ability to track energy as it moves through her system and complete the cycle instead of letting it get stuck. Most people either dissociate from difficult emotions, spiritual bypassing, numbing out, pretending everything's fine, or they drown in them. Emotional enmeshment, taking on everyone's suffering as if it's their responsibility. She does neither. She's the therapist who can hold trauma without becoming traumatized, the daughter who can be with her dying parent without falling apart, the artist who transforms collective grief into beauty that heals. She knows she's not here to carry the world's pain. She's here to compost it. Just like rich soil is made from decomposed matter, her body becomes the alchemical vessel where suffering is transformed into fertile ground for new growth. But, and this is crucial, alchemy requires completion. If she forgets to discharge the energy regularly, if she stops completing the cycles, the unprocessed emotions become toxic in her system. Chronic illness, autoimmune conditions, burnout that takes years to recover from. The shadow side of this quality is thinking you can absorb infinitely without consequence. You can't. Even alchemists must tend their vessels. Even priestesses must rest. She's silent. She transmutes. But there's something even rarer, something that makes her seem almost otherworldly to those who encounter it, the way she sees. The third quality is soul recognition. This is the ability to see past the personality, past the wounds, past the performance, directly into the eternal essence of another being. Cayce spoke about this in his readings on what he called Akashic sight. He said, "She does not see you as you are in this moment. She sees you as you are across all lifetimes. She meets your soul, not your story. When you're with her, you feel seen in a way that's both unsettling and deeply relieving. She's not impressed by your resume. She's not deterred by your trauma. She's not fooled by your masks. She perceives the blueprint beneath the rubble, the light beneath the layers, the truth you've been trying to remember about yourself." Most people relate to surfaces. They see your job title, your appearance, your behavior in this moment. They make judgments based on what you've achieved or where you've failed. They categorize you, label you, reduce you to a story they can understand. But she doesn't do that. She relates to essence. This makes shallow relationships impossible for her. She simply can't engage at that level. It feels like lying, like betraying what she knows to be true. But deep connection? That's effortless for her, because she's not trying to build connection through small talk and social performance. She's meeting you soul to soul, and that recognition is instant. This is spiritual intelligence accessing what Cayce called the Akashic records, the cosmic memory of all souls, all lifetimes, all connections. She doesn't need formal psychic training to do this. She's not reading tarot or channeling spirits or consulting astrology charts. She's simply seeing what's already there. Soul contracts, karmic patterns, past life connections. The eternal truth of who you are beneath all the temporary forms you wear. She's the mentor who sees your potential before you do, who believes in you when you don't believe in yourself, who reflects back a version of you that you forgot was possible. She's the partner who loves you through your worst self because she knows it's temporary. She knows it's not the truth of who you are. She sees the eternal you, and that's what she stays committed to. She's the stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear, not because she planned it, not because she's trying to fix you, but because she saw your soul's question, and her soul responded with the answer. The gift she gives is profound. By seeing the truth in others, she activates it. People become more authentic in her presence, more courageous, more aligned, not because she tells them to be, but because she reflects their truth back to them. She becomes a mirror for the divine in others. But there's a shadow side here too. She can become disillusioned when others don't live up to their soul potential, when they choose fear instead of growth, when they cling to patterns she can see so clearly are no longer serving them. She must learn to see the truth and honor their timeline, their choices, their agency. She can see who they are eternally, but she cannot force them to remember. She cannot do their work for them. She's silent. She transmutes. She sees. Now the question becomes, what does she do with what she sees? The fourth quality is fierce compassion. This is the ability to love deeply without clinging, to care without controlling, to release without abandoning. Cayce taught this as one of the hardest lessons the feminine soul must learn. True love sometimes looks like goodbye. Think about how radical that is. In our culture, love is supposed to mean holding on, fighting for the relationship, never giving up, sacrifice without end. But the woman with spiritual intelligence knows that's not love. That's attachment. That's fear wearing love's mask. She loves because she lets go, not despite it. She trusts that everyone's soul has its own path, its own timing, its own teachers, and her job isn't to save them, to fix them, to keep them comfortable. Her job is to honor their sovereignty. She's the mother who allows her adult child to fail, who watches them make choices she wouldn't make, experience consequences she could have prevented, and she doesn't intervene because she knows that their struggle is their initiation. She's the wife who ends a marriage she still loves, because she can see that the relationship, as beautiful as it once was, is no longer serving either soul's growth, and staying would be choosing comfort over truth. She's the healer who doesn't chase clients who aren't ready, who lets people walk away from transformation because she knows you can't force awakening. You can only offer it and honor the choice. This isn't easy. This isn't passive. This isn't detached. This takes immense strength. It takes fierce love to set boundaries, to say no, to walk away from someone you still care about, because staying would be enabling their patterns instead of empowering their growth. Codependency masquerades as love in our culture, but the woman with spiritual intelligence sees through it. She's mastered what Buddhists call non-attachment, what Cayce called grace in release. She loves from fullness, not need. She gives from overflow, not obligation. And there's a warrior aspect to this quality that people often miss. She's the leader who fires people with dignity, who makes hard decisions and holds them with compassion, who doesn't avoid difficult conversations just because they're uncomfortable. She's the friend who tells you hard truths wrapped in love, who cares enough to risk the relationship by being honest with you. She's the grandmother who doesn't enable destructive patterns, even when it breaks her heart, who says, "I love you too much to watch you do this to yourself." Fierce compassion is active love. It's engaged, it's boundaried, it's clear. But the shadow side, and there's always a shadow, is when this becomes emotional detachment, spiritual superiority. I'm too evolved to be affected by your choices. True, fierce compassion feels everything. She feels the love, the loss, the grief of letting go. But she chooses freedom anyway, for herself and for the other person. She's silent, she transmutes, she sees, she releases. But there's a quality even fewer women possess, one that terrifies those who encounter it, one that our culture has spent centuries trying to suppress. The fifth quality is sacred rage. This is the ability to channel anger not as destructive tantrum, but as spiritual discernment. The sword that cuts through illusion, pretense, and decay. Cayce said something controversial about this in his readings. The feminine who has never known rage has never known power. The feminine who has mastered rage has become Kali, destroyer of falseness, protector of truth. Let that land for a moment. Women are conditioned to be nice, to smile, to swallow anger, to prioritize harmony over honesty, to keep everyone comfortable, even at the cost of their own truth. Feminine anger is pathologized as hysteria, instability, overreaction, something to be managed, medicated, apologized for. But the woman with spiritual intelligence has reclaimed her rage as holy. Her anger isn't petty, it isn't reactive, it isn't vindictive or cruel, it's precise. She gets angry on behalf of truth, on behalf of justice, on behalf of the vulnerable who have no voice. She's the mother bear, who will destroy anything threatening her cubs. The dragon guardian, who breathes fire to protect what's sacred. The sacred destroyer, who knows that some things must end for new life to begin. This is incredibly rare because most people fear anger, especially feminine anger. It's been weaponized for so long, explosive rage that harms, passive-aggressive anger that poisons, repressed anger that leaks out as illness, depression, self-destruction. But she's learned to wield it consciously as a spiritual tool. Her rage is composting energy. It breaks down what's rotted so that life can return. It clears space. It ends what needs to end. She's the activist who dismantles unjust systems, who speaks truth to power without apology, who refuses to be silent when silence would be complicity. She's the artist whose work exposes hypocrisy, who makes people uncomfortable because comfort has been built on lies. She's the woman who walks away from toxic relationships without guilt or explanation, who burns the bridge because that bridge was leading somewhere she will never go again. In Hindu cosmology, Kali is the goddess who dances on corpses, not because she's evil, not because she enjoys death, but because she's honest. She shows us that death is necessary for rebirth, that destruction is inseparable from creation, that you cannot birth the new world until you've composted the old one. The woman with spiritual intelligence embodies this. But, and this is where discernment becomes everything, sacred rage must be directed. Is the anger creating space for love? Or is it just creating more pain? Is it destroying what no longer serves? Or is it destroying her? Unchecked, sacred rage becomes bitterness, cruelty, self-destruction, the anger that eats its own vessel from the inside out. She must learn to discharge it consciously, to channel it into action, into art, into transformation, to complete the cycle instead of letting it fester. She's silent. She transmutes. She sees. She releases. She destroys. One quality remains, the rarest of all. The sixth quality is embodied wisdom. This is the ability to be the teaching rather than speak it, to transmit truth through presence rather than performance. Cayce gave his highest praise to women who carried this quality. She does not teach wisdom. She is wisdom incarnate. Her life is the scripture. Her presence is the sermon. All 5 previous qualities converge here: sacred silence, emotional alchemy, soul recognition, fierce compassion, sacred rage. They're woven together into a way of being that requires no announcement, no credentials, no validation. She doesn't post about her spirituality. She doesn't claim titles, guru, healer, priestess, master. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. She simply lives in alignment. And that alignment is magnetic, undeniable, transformative. This is the rarest quality because it requires total surrender of ego. She's not trying to be spiritual. She's not performing enlightenment. She's just stopped pretending to be anything other than soul in flesh. Cayce called this Christ consciousness in feminine form. Not Jesus the person, but Christ as the frequency of divine love made human. She's the grandmother whose kitchen feels like a temple, who kneads bread like prayer, who looks at you with eyes so full of love that you remember who you are. She's the midwife who turns birth into ceremony, who holds space for life's transition with such reverence that mothers feel held by something larger than themselves. She's the elder whose silence holds more truth than 1,000 sermons, who doesn't need to explain herself because her being explains everything. People are changed by proximity to her, not because she preaches, not because she teaches, not because she performs, but because her nervous system, her energy field, her very cells broadcast a frequency of peace, power, and love that others can attune to. She's living proof that spiritual intelligence isn't theoretical, it's possible. She's the evidence that consciousness can evolve, that humans can become holy, that the divine can wear skin. But to embody wisdom, she's had to release everything not aligned with truth. Relationships that kept her small, identities that felt safe but false, comforts that numbed her instead of nourished her, certainties that limited her instead of liberated her. She's been pruned down to essence, and what remains is pure transmission. She's silent, she transmutes, she sees, she releases, she destroys, she is. 6 qualities, one architecture of rare spiritual intelligence. Now the question becomes, how do you cultivate these qualities in yourself? Or recognize them if they're already there, dormant, waiting to be remembered? These 6 qualities aren't achievements you collect like degrees on a wall. They're rememberings you activate, soul memories you uncover, capacities that have always been within you, waiting for permission to emerge. If you have them, they're already there. You've just been taught not to trust them, taught to second-guess your knowing, taught to apologize for your depth. But you can choose differently now. Here's how to awaken each quality, not through force, but through gentle invitation. For sacred silence, choose one day each month to practice silence. A full day where you don't speak unless absolutely necessary. No phone calls, no podcasts, no music, no filling the space. Just you and the silence. Journal what arises when you stop performing, when you stop managing, when you simply are. Notice the discomfort, the urge to fix, explain, distract. Don't judge it, just witness it. The more you practice holding silence, the more you'll trust it as sacred space instead of empty void. For emotional alchemy, after you feel someone else's emotions, after a difficult conversation, after holding space for someone's pain, pause. Don't just carry it forward into your day. Physically discharge the energy. Breathe deeply and intentionally. Move your body, shake, dance, stretch. Make sound, hum, tone, cry, scream into a pillow if you need to. Visualize the energy moving through you like water through a stream. See it transforming into light as you release it. Complete the cycle. Don't let it get stuck in your tissues, your organs, your nervous system. For soul recognition, in your next conversation, try something radical. Soften your gaze. Stop listening to the surface words. Look through the person's story to the longing beneath it. What is their soul actually asking for? What truth are they circling around but not quite saying? Reflect that back to them. Not the story they're telling, but the deeper truth you perceive. It sounds like what you're really longing for is, what I'm hearing beneath your words is, watch what happens when someone feels truly seen. For fierce compassion, identify one relationship where you're holding on from fear, not love, where you're enabling instead of empowering, where you're sacrificing your own truth to keep someone else comfortable. Write a letter releasing them. Don't send it, just write it. Tell them the truth you've been afraid to say. Release the responsibility you've been carrying that was never yours. Set them free and yourself. Notice what it feels like to love someone and let them go, to trust their journey without trying to control it. For sacred rage, the next time anger arises, don't suppress it, don't perform it, don't apologize for it. Ask, what truth is this anger protecting? What boundary has been crossed? What injustice am I being called to address? Then channel the energy into creative destruction. Clean out a closet, end a commitment that's draining you, have the difficult conversation you've been avoiding, create art that tells the truth. Let the anger move you toward alignment, not keep you stuck in resentment. For embodied wisdom, for one full week, speak only what you've personally experienced as true. No borrowed wisdom, no spiritual cliches you read in a book, no advice you haven't actually lived. Only lived knowledge, only embodied truth. Notice how much more powerful your words become when they come from experience instead of theory. This is the practice of integrity, of being the teaching instead of performing it. The most important principle in all of this: you cannot force spiritual intelligence. You cannot achieve it through effort or discipline alone. You can only remove the obstacles, the ego, the conditioning, the fear, and let the intelligence that's always been there emerge naturally, like a sculpture revealing itself as the stone is chipped away. You are not becoming these qualities. You are remembering them. But what if you don't have these qualities? What if you recognize them in someone else, your partner, your mother, your daughter, your friend, and you don't know how to honor them? If you have a partner, a mother, a daughter, or a friend who carries these 6 qualities, you may have misunderstood her your entire relationship, and it's not your fault. Nobody taught you how to recognize spiritual intelligence. Nobody showed you what it looks like when the feminine operates at this frequency. So let me translate for you. Her silence isn't rejection, it's sacred space. She's not withholding from you, she's holding space for you. Don't force her to fill it with chatter just to ease your discomfort. Learn to sit in the silence with her. Learn what it's teaching you. Her emotional boundaries aren't coldness, they're self-preservation. She's learned the hard way that absorbing everyone's pain destroys her. Don't guilt her for not carrying your emotions. Don't tell her she's heartless because she won't drown with you. She's showing you what healthy alchemy looks like. Her soul sight isn't judgment, it's truth-telling. When she reflects back what she sees in you, she's not criticizing you. She's seeing past your defenses to the divine blueprint beneath. Don't ask her to lie about what she perceives just to make you comfortable. Let her reflection guide you home to yourself. Her fierce compassion isn't abandonment, it's trust in your sovereignty. When she lets you face consequences, when she refuses to rescue you, when she loves you enough to let you fall, she's honoring your soul's right to learn its own lessons. Don't demand that she save you. Let her teach you how to save yourself. Her sacred rage isn't instability, it's clarity. When she gets angry, it's not because she's lost control. It's because she's seen something that must end, something that must be destroyed for truth to emerge. Don't pathologize her anger as emotionality. Recognize it as spiritual discernment in action. Her embodied wisdom isn't superiority, it's service. She's not trying to be better than you. She's simply being what she is, consciousness made flesh. Don't minimize her presence. Don't try to make her smaller, quieter, more palatable. Let her be the full frequency she came here to be. What she needs from you is not worship, not management, not protection, recognition, acknowledgement that she's not like everyone else. And that's not a flaw to be fixed. It's a gift to be honored. What you'll gain by truly seeing her is access to a depth of relationship, guidance, and love that most people never experience. But only if you stop trying to make her conventional. Only if you stop being threatened by her power. Only if you let her be fully herself, even when it challenges you. Cayce said this in one of his readings, and it's worth remembering. The man evolved enough to partner with her will be accelerated beyond measure. The man threatened by her will lose her and learn his hardest lessons alone. The same is true for anyone in relationship with a woman carrying these qualities. Honor her, see her, let her transform you, or step aside and let her find those who can. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, let yourself soften. Now travel forward in time. 5 years from now, you're standing in front of a mirror. But it's not the version of you who exists today. It's the version of you who has fully claimed these 6 qualities. The version of you who has stopped apologizing, stopped shrinking, stopped doubting what you've always known. Look at her. She is silent, not because she has nothing to say, but because she's learned when words serve and when they dilute. Her silence is powerful, generative, sacred. She is alchemical. She feels everything but carries nothing. Her body is clear. Her energy is radiant. She transforms pain into prayer, grief into growth, struggle into art. She sees souls, not to fix them, but to reflect their divinity back to them. People feel safer and more seen in her presence. She's become a mirror for the divine in others. She loves fiercely, attached to nothing, devoted to everything. She holds and releases with equal grace. She's learned that true love sometimes looks like goodbye. She wields sacred rage, not as a weapon, but as a surgeon's blade. She cuts away falseness wherever she finds it, starting with her own patterns. Her anger has become her discernment. She embodies wisdom, no longer performing spirituality, just being it. Her presence is medicine. Her life is prayer. She doesn't teach, she transmits. This woman, this future version of you, has a message to send back to present you. Listen carefully. She's saying, stop waiting for permission. Stop making yourself small to make others comfortable. Stop doubting what you've always known. You are not becoming me. You are remembering me.